People who went from being extremely attractive to not. How did your life change? Story 1. Was really active. Longboarded every day for hours. Was in great shape. Then, I was in a car accident. Stopped at a red light, I was rear-ended, and my vehicle was crushed between the vehicle behind and in front. Couldn't be active anymore. Gained 60 pounds. Ended up not working for a couple years. My friends never bailed, but the way I'm treated by strangers is wildly different between being attractive and not. Story 2. A female friend recently saw a picture of me in my 20s, 10 years ago, and said, "Damn, you were really hot when you had hair." So, I'm currently dealing with the fact that I just won't be as hot as I used to be. It's fine. Story 3. Well, I wouldn't say I was extremely attractive, but above average, and about 135 pounds. Then I got cancer, gained 60 pounds from steroids, lost my hair, got drop foot from one of the tumors, and rashes all over my face. I'm so far kicking cancer's ass, so I'll take it. But it does take a serious toll in the looks department, LL. Story 4. I'd say personally I have always been a solid 6, but my friend is smoking hot and he was really fat and had scoliosis 2 years ago, and he said people just treat him nicer since he got into shape and got his spine surgery. People seem to generally treat people nicer and better when they are hot, and it's one of the bitter truths that we have to accept. Story 5. People used to smile at me, customer service was better, I like to spend a lot of time picking outfits, it enjoyed doing makeup on nights out. Now I really have no interest in clothes or makeup. People don't look at me and smile anymore, lol. I'm just old and a mom, and I look perpetually like a 14-year-old, but now in a less cute, more 13 or 30 way. Part of the reason I don't socialize as much is because I'm somewhat insecure. Story 6. A lot of my friends stopped talking to me when I gained 30 pounds in 6 months. And during that time, I started to get really bad acne. I have lost 22 pounds since October, but I'm still insecure about my acne. Edit. I should mention I gained weight due to medications and hypothyroidism. And I actually gained 45 pounds, not 30. My math was off, LOL. Story 7. I had the opposite experience when I lost weight, but I noticed strangers would smile at me on the street, hold doors open for me. People would go out of their way to talk to me or include me in stuff. I stopped feeling awkward all the time in social situations. Turns out I was never awkward, I was just fat. Story 8. My best friend had anorexia throughout our adolescence. At her thinnest, she was 5'6" and 95 pounds. She looked emaciated, pale, and just exhausted all the damn time. She was clearly unwell, but she had guys all over her. Not that she had the energy to reciprocate, but that didn't stop them from trying. She's much healthier now and in good shape, 135 pounds. But every once in a while she'll say, "It was a lot easier meeting guys back when I was a weak-ass bag of bones. Guys liked me better that way." I assure her she looks the best she's ever looked. But there's no denying guys liked her better when she looked like the slightest breeze could carry her away. I don't even know why. Story 9. I don't know that I was extremely attractive, but I certainly wasn't short of attention up until I was about 30. I got older, had a baby, little bit chubbier, have acne scars. After a wee while of feeling like my best years were behind me, and finding it much harder to get served quickly at a bar, I somehow realized that not being judged by my looks was actually very freeing, and even when I was prettier, there was always something I didn't like about myself, whereas now I love all of me, acne scars and wobbly belly and all. I'd say I've developed more of a personality, rather than being a people pleaser, and am much less bothered about whether or not people like me. Something about realizing I was not seen as perfect anymore meant I didn't have to try and live up to that, if that makes any sense. Story 10. Never had trouble getting attention from the opposite gender. Never had body image issues. Got cheated on. I genuinely feel unattractive, unworthy of attention, and I'd be very, very surprised if someone complimented me. I wish I could talk myself out of this. I can't. Story 11. I was never extremely attractive, but I had the girl next door vibe. I didn't become unattractive, but I had a kid and had baby weight for a bit, and I'm still about 10 lbs above my pre-baby weight. I've also started to show my age, whereas before I could pass for much, much younger than I was. Creepy dudes who are obviously much older than me no longer hit on me. I'm married, so it doesn't matter, but the dudes who do approach me while I'm out look around my age and normal, I guess. Not as much of a creepy vibe going on. Old men leave me alone. People don't talk to me in such a condescending way, especially men. Story 12. I wouldn't say I was ever extremely attractive, but I was good-looking and fit enough in my 20s that I had a very easy time dating, hooking up with women without having to initiate it myself. Some of the guys I worked with didn't like me based on that alone, but most people, guys included, were really nice to me and treated me well. I've aged a bit since then and stopped working out over the past 10 years, lost most of my muscle, and am pretty skinny now. I don't personally like what I see when I look in the mirror these days, but would say I'm about average looking now. People are still nice to me. The only difference now is that women don't really approach me anymore. I'm fine with it though. I had my share of fun when I was younger, and if I get lonely, I need to learn to put in the work to earn someone's companionship rather than just existing and choosing from whoever comes to me. Can't say how much of that because I'm physically less attractive than I used to be versus the fact that I don't hang out in the same places and am not as outgoing as I used to be. It's hard to say. I was really vain when I was in my 20s and just don't care about the same kinds of things now in my 30s. Story 13. I was a pretty good-looking lad in my 20s. Generally, women are nicer to you. Also, they make some effort to interact with you. It's nice not having to always be the initiator. Sometimes dudes were passive-aggressive for no reason, can be intimidated by you, especially when there's women about. Anyone that says, looks don't open doors for you, has either always been average or under, or is still a looker and doesn't know their privilege. It absolutely does, and helped me out. Although I've let myself go, it's less of an issue now, as wisdom and experience make up for the lost physical charisma. Story 14. I don't know if I was ever considered extremely attractive, but I don't think I was too bad on the eyes in my younger years, 40 years old. The years of drinking, smoking, and poor diet caught up to me, and now I'm a bit more weathered. I grew out a beard and that solved that. Story 15. When I was young and handsome, I could smile at a girl on the street and she would smile back. Now that I'm old and gross, if I mistakenly make eye contact with a beautiful woman, they recoil in disgust. To be honest, I do the same when I unexpectedly catch my own reflection. It could be worse. I could have never been handsome. Story 16. I was never crazy attractive nor ugly, but every year I bulk during winter and cut during summer. We're talking about 15 to 30 pounds difference between winter and summer depending how strict I am on my diet. I'm telling you, when I'm super lean, my face becomes much more defined. I get a lot of attention when I go out. On the contrary, during winter, I get pretty much zero attention except from dudes because they are impressed with my size. It's pretty much down to genetics, I would say. Some people hold their fat pretty nicely, some others, like me, get fat face right away. Story 17, it's getting worse every year. I'm on early 30s, so I still have some of the goods, but I honestly feel like my old life, what I thought was my real life, has died, and now I'm in a fresh start where things are worse. What's really happening is that I'm losing what made life so much easier and special for me in my teens and 20s. I'm learning that so much of my behaviors and habits won't fly anymore. I got away with some much rudeness and selfishness that I became blind to it. Now I'm starting to feel like I'm not a very good person. I used to expect goodwill from people, and it always panned out that way. I could get away with murder in my early 20s and almost always fix it by just talking in person to whoever was charged. I made my career off my looks, and I can feel that I need to start pivoting fast. It's hard, and nobody wants to hear it or has sympathy. I just feel like a child who is learning about reality now, while also having the tools I counted on taking away. I need to build a new me. Story 18. Was never extremely attractive, but I definitely felt I was more attractive than I am now. My granddad was dying of cancer, and I would neglect sleep and food to try help him. I rarely ate, stopped the gym, and slept for a few hours a night. I was determined with trying to somehow find a medical alternative that would keep my granddad alive. It was foolish, because in doing that I didn't spend time with my granddad before he died, one of my biggest regrets. Story 19. I was never extremely attractive, but my life dramatically changed after gaining 80 pounds over the past few years. I went from comfortably socializing to hiding in my apartment week after week. I stopped dressing up and caring about the way I look. I rarely wear makeup, and my outfits consist of leggings and an oversized sweater, even when I go to the office. The way people treat you when you're attractive is noticeably different. Life felt easier back then. People would smile at me more, make conversation. I loved life and felt 10x happier. Story 20. I was always pretty except for major acne. Then in my mid-20s, I finally got past that and got comfortable with the thought I might be beautiful. Then I came out of an emotionally abusive relationship and into a years-long depressive episode, right as I was at the age where health and beauty need careful attention to maintain. I did not maintain them. I'm still not well. Story 21. Not me, but we had a girl in high school that looked and acted exactly like Blondie, Debbie Harry. She had almost every guy in the school after her. Soaking wet, she probably only weighed 90 pounds. She disappeared right after high school and had moved to another city in the state. We had a 5-year reunion and she came to it. By then she had 4 kids and, not exaggerating, weighed close to 300 pounds. She was unrecognizable. Though people still mingled and talked with her, she had turned very bitter and angry that she no longer got the attention she got when she was still in high school. Story 22. I'm female and middle-aged. I think the thing that destroyed my beauty was an abdominal hernia that totally ruined my small waistline, even after I had surgery to correct it. I couldn't exercise like I used to and gained a lot of weight in addition to that. COVID shut down the salons where I had my lash extensions done, and when they reopened, they were so much more expensive that I had to stop doing that. Then I decided to stop coloring my hair because I developed an allergy to the fragrances in hair dye. In a period of about 6 years, my look changed from hot mom to grandma. When I was young, I got a lot of attention from men, and that just disappeared. Not that I care because I'm happily married, but it is a change. I feel less heard. If I have a problem and try to stand up for myself, I'm labeled a Karen. Whereas if I was still young and pretty, I would be an empowered woman. I used to be very fashionable, but now I'm just lucky to find comfortable clothes that fit. I wear makeup less often, just on special occasions, and I used to wear makeup every day. Story 23. A friend of mine had very large breasts. The men around her were like butterflies in front of the light. She got everything from them and didn't need to make any effort to be the center of attention. She ended up having a breast reduction, as it was causing her back problems. And overnight she discovered that she needed to have a personality, something she had never cultivated, because others made the effort for her. Story 24. I was very attractive from like 18, 27. Then from 28, 36, I had 4 kids and gained like 80 pounds. Now, at 37, I've lost all that extra weight and I'm pretty attractive again, but I've obviously aged a bit. When I was skinny, both times, people treat you super friendly and hold doors, try to chat with you. And when I was younger and less old, I'd even get a lot of stuff for free. When you're obese, people basically ignore you completely. Starting 20 pounds from my goal weight, I noticed the shift and it was drastic. It makes me hate everyone. Story 25. I had a weird bounce back and forth the last few years. 2021, I was 19 and went to college, probably the best I ever looked. I got hit on constantly and had guys tell me I made them nervous, but in a good way. End of 2022, all of 2023. I was dealing with some solid health issues. Long COVID, gut problems, dermatitis, and it sucked the life out of me. My hair was all broken and frizzy, skin was terrible with a big red rash next to my mouth, always feeling sickly, wore no makeup, got very little attention from anyone, and in general was treated a lot worse. Before, I always had people go out of their way to help me with things or smile at me in public. Now it was like I didn't even exist, or when I was acknowledged, it was annoyance. Cut to end of last year and all of this year so far, I got my health under control and am almost back to my old self again at 22. The shift was insane. Genuinely, every day at work, I get a looks or body-related compliment from one or more coworkers. I get hit on constantly and have been asked out a ton in the last couple months. I've noticed people in public staring at me a lot and they open doors for me, chat with me, smile, etc. I'm given passes on things that last year I wouldn't have been, like messing something up at work or accidentally being late to something. As much as I'm grateful for this privilege, as it absolutely does make my life easier, I'm massively bitter about it now, because having experienced the other side, I know it's all fake and will go away the second I don't fit society's expectations. I'm looking forward to hopefully someday being an old woman who doesn't give a fuck about what anyone thinks. Story 26. I used to get hit on a lot, not so much since the weight gain. Plus my clothing style has changed from cute but revealing to baggy hippie grunge. I miss a lot of my cute clothes that I don't fit in anymore. The hardest change has been my own perception of myself, as I grew up being complimented on being tall and slender. I don't even feel like me anymore. It feels like a kind of body dysmorphia. I can't stand looking at myself in photos or the mirror. Even worse, I'm happily 7 months pregnant and having trouble coping with my huge stomach. Looking forward to getting active again after baby comes. She's already got me eating healthier again. Story 27. I've dated a couple of these guys. I think they must have been big deals in high school. Football players and all that. Even though they were both now middle-aged, broken beyond repair from various sports and activities that have caused much wear and tear on their bodies, but they still had that bit of arrogance to them, like they still had it, some sort of ingrained delusion that they were still in their prime, despite not being able to bend over and tie their shoes because of their huge gut, or are wearing support socks because of circulation issues, on loads of medications. These same middle-aged men still think they have a right to the hottest women, because they themselves are so deluded thinking that they're still just so hot and desirable. They also seem to think having a hot woman on their arm somehow makes them look better and other men envious. These same men will pick women apart because of how they look while overlooking their own flaws, because in their mind they're still that stud he was when he was younger. Story 28. When I was in my mid-20s, I was a strong 9. After a breakup and a lot of mental health issues, I slowly put on close to 200 pounds over the next decade. There is, in my experience, a near one correlation between how people treat you and your weight. The bigger you get, the worse you're treated. Last year, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and I've lost nearly 140 pounds since. I'm nearly halfway there and people are treating me much better than they did last year. Story 29. I was 85 kilograms of pure muscle, a professional ballet dancer with around 6% body fat, built like the Greek god of war. Women approached me all the time. I commanded a room simply by walking in. Dating was stupidly easy. All I had to do was simply exist. I was arrogant and confident because of course I was. I was a charming, intelligent, good-looking dude who could dance. Then I stopped dancing to help my parents out during an apparent health crisis, met my ex, decided to settle down into a normal life, and my shitty genetics caught up with me in the form of hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's disease. I gained weight like mad. Now I'm 120 kg, despite being very active and surprisingly fit under all the fat and doing everything I can to lose weight. It's like my metabolism one day decided, LOL, no, you're 120 now. I don't seem to get heavier either though. Like during COVID, I gave up on weight loss for a bit and went full feral hog, but didn't gain any weight at all. I still think I'm a good-looking dude in the face. I have a beard now I think makes me look much better. Shit. Fit me with a beard would have been too much for the world to handle. But the weight, I'm very self-conscious about. I'm a very open person, and people find me very approachable, which is good considering my career change, psychologist. But nobody seems to consider me a viable sexual partner anymore. Kids point out that I'm fat a lot, but to be fair, a lot of the kids I interact with have autism, so their filter isn't great, LOL. I've had to learn to approach women myself, not that it has done me much good the last 5 years. I am extremely mindful of the fact that what would have been perceived as flirty and fun when I was fit would now be seen as creepy and unwanted, so I just don't do it at all. Because my company and career rely heavily on my reputation, I am terrified of being accused of sexual harassment or being labeled as a creep. And as I work with at-risk people and in small, remote communities, I cannot afford for my romantic intentions to be taken poorly, so I straight up do not flirt or try to date normally. I strictly use internet dating, which is soul-crushing, but at least I know that the women on there are looking to talk to someone, in theory. I know that if I looked the way I used to, this would not be as much of an issue.